witnessing something that's really been a personal dream of mine. To be able to have a concert like this in a small space with a small ensemble, and to have this kind of a close experience with our audience. I really appreciate you coming here. This is also the first time that Viva Voce has given a concert by itself from the full choir. And so we're honored to be able to do this for you. These folks have put in just a lot of time, of course, outside of the regular rehearsals, learning the music, and being ready to present it for you. What you are getting tonight is a perspective on 400 years of a cappella singing, unaccompanied singing. Okay? And a lot of the repertoire comes from the Renaissance and early Baroque, and then we even have some from the later Baroque, and then we're going to jump all the way ahead into the 20th century, the most recent century, even 21st century, some of the pieces. But this, it's all about a cappella music. You're not going to hear, of course, a lot of instruments playing and driving the beat. You're not going to hear a lot of other sounds along with us. Everything that comes in the expression only comes through our voices. And so the subtleties of text, the little accents, the phrasing, all of that is where the expression comes from. And it's all about celebrating the voice and its source of expression. When we talk about choral music, we think about music and vocal music, and today a lot of vocal music comes to our head, we think of solo vocal music, and then a lot of times choral music is an arrangement of a vocal solo. And not that there aren't very fine choral arrangements of vocal solos, we will do some of those later in the program. But there's a distinctive difference from a piece of music that was conceived for a chorus versus one that was conceived for a solo and then adapted for a chorus. And so this is music that was written with a chorus in mind. Group of singers together, right? The purest form of singing goes back to chant. We think of Gregorian chant and intoning the words and the prayers in the services. And the next piece that we're going to sing for you, Ave Maria, actually is based on a chant. It started life as a chant melody, and the composer, Jacob Handel, was not a relation to George Frederick at all, but he has taken that chant and, I guess the contemporary word would be, reimagined it as a piece for choir. And so the melody gets passed around from the sections to sections. There are points of imitation where one section starts out and then another comes in, and then they come together in a beautiful choral cadence. It's expressive of the Ave Maria text. The next two are psalm settings of, both of them have the same name, but they're different composers and they're from different psalms. Cantate Domino. And the way to listen is these pieces are through composed. That means there is no refrain, but every phrase has a different setting. And the way the composer set it in the music is taken directly related to the text and what they are singing. You have a translation. You can follow the phrases in the translation of what we're singing as we go through. Yes, they're in Latin. That's the language they were written in, because at that time, that was the language that was of the church. So this is our first set here this evening. beginning of what's called motet, sacred motet particularly, and with the texts being very closely linked to the expression in the music. We're going to jump ahead to the master composer Bach. And Bach took all that had gone before him, and he just expanded it all and raised it to such a high art. And we're going to sing for you one of his 6 unaccompanied motets. I say unaccompanied, actually, performance practice said you could do it with instruments, but mostly they're performed unaccompanied. Oftentimes they're done, you know, if you go to hear a college choir perform, you'll hear them do a motet, longer concert. It's kind of standard repertoire for that genre. You don't often hear it sung with like only 18 voices. Okay? But there is the idea historically that this is more authentic to do it with a smaller group. That Bach and Handel didn't do things with these massive choruses like we think of them today. So, what we find is that you'll hear the lines and the interplay between the voices and the choirs a lot more because of the smaller forces. Okay? Bach, again, gives each line of the text its own unique treatment, but it's a much expanded version. And it's more like meditating on that particular line of text as you go through. The text is from Romans 8, 26 and 27. And many people in Bach's time saw this as better than the sermon when they listened to it. Okay? Because of the way he said it and what he did, the first part of the text, the Spirit also helps us, for we know not how to pray. There's really 2 different phrases in that part of the song. There's the one about the Spirit, which has this soaring 16th note line that you hear in the very beginning of it. And then later on, there is, when they start singing about, for we know not what to pray, the line becomes more linear and less active. And as the piece goes through, you'll hear one choir say, Der Geist hilft, der Geist hilft, which is the Spirit helps, the Spirit helps. Interestingly, Bach sets that by a descending line, Der Geist hilft, coming down from the Spirit. Okay, descending from heaven, helping us. And then when we sing about, for we know not what to pray, you know, the line is more static and more just here. It doesn't soar quite so much. And when they sing through that part of the song, it wanders through, hopefully not wandering too much, but it goes through, it goes through a bunch of different keys, like they're trying to find what that center is. And finally, there's something that brings it back to the home key of B flat, and we sing, Der Geist hilft, the Holy Spirit, again, back in the key of B flat. You know, it's just, that's the first part of the thing. There's so much. And then the next section, totally different. Der Geist hilft, the first part is all in 3. 3 and 1, that's a very Bach thing to talk about spiritual, 3 and 1. So it's 3/8 time. But then it changes to 4/4, very rock solid 4/4 time, which is very earthy, which is the text, but the Spirit intercedes for us with sighings too deep for words. Okay, while we're here fighting our battles, that's what Bach is after. And you hear the word seufzen. Seufzen means sighs. And very often, as they sing this, they're singing these long lines. Sometimes it's long, arching lines, sighing. And then sometimes it's just 2 notes where they're going, dee-dum, dee-dum, dee-dum. It's like, or sometimes, You know, you hear that in the music. It's the sighing of the Spirit. Okay? And then, to bring it all together, there's a few. Wouldn't be Bach without a few. Wouldn't be Bach. And so, he who searches the hearts is aware of the Spirit's mind, because the Spirit intercedes according to God's will. You know, that assurance in the sound. And finally, the response. Bach was Lutheran, and Lutherans brought congregational singing into worship. And so the piece ends with a chorale. It was a familiar tune that people would have known. They probably would have joined in. And it's a reflection on the text of Romans and a prayer to engage us with that text. It's a marvelous piece. I hope you can hear even some of these things as we're singing with it today.